Soldier, barely 19. You went to fight for your country in World War II, but instead of medals and glory you're captured, beaten, starved, forgotten for years. You're locked inside a camp where escape means death, and surrender means slow torture. But here's the part no one told you. Some prisoners escaped using nothing but cardboard. Others were killed not by the enemy, but by their own allies. These are the untold stories of World War II prisoners of war, and by the end of this video, you'll see just how many truths have been hidden in plain sight. Let's start with one of the most clever escape stories you've never heard of. In Germany's infamous Colditz Castle, a maximum security POW camp where only officers were kept. Prisoners knew there was no escape. The guards were brutal, the walls impenetrable, but British POWs had a secret weapon: cardboard. Using Red Cross aid packages and stolen materials, they built a working glider, a real flyable glider, inside a castle attic. They called it the Colditz Cork. The plan: launch it from the roof and glide across the Elbe River to freedom. But here's the twist. The war ended one day before the escape. The glider was never used. It sat hidden in the attic for decades, forgotten, like the men who built it. Now let's talk about the darkest part of this history. And I have to warn you, this is not easy to hear. In Japanese POW camps, especially in the Pacific, prisoners faced unspeakable horror. They weren't just starved, they were beaten, tortured, and in some rare, horrifying cases, even eaten. Yes, Japanese soldiers were documented committing cannibalism, not due to starvation, but as a form of power and humiliation. In the Sandakan death marches in Borneo, over 2,400 Allied POWs were forced to walk hundreds of kilometers with no food. Only 6 survived. The rest shot, beheaded, or simply left to rot. And yet, this is rarely mentioned in textbooks. But it wasn't just the enemy who turned on them. Some POWs were killed by their own country. In 1944, American pilots were held as POWs in a Japanese prison in Tokyo. The US had intelligence on the camp's location, but during the firebombing of Tokyo, they dropped bombs on that exact area. Over 62 American prisoners were burned alive by American bombs. Was it a mistake, or was it intentional to hide secrets? We may never know, but here's the truth. No one admits. For many soldiers, the war didn't end when they surrendered. We often talk about Nazi Germany and Japan, but do you know who had one of the worst survival rates for POWs? The Soviet Union. German soldiers captured by Stalin's forces were sent to Siberian gulags. Temperatures dropped below 30 C. Food was moldy bread and watery soup. Work hours up to 20 per day. Over 1 million Axis soldiers died in Soviet captivity. Some were held until 1955, a full decade after the war ended. One German soldier, Heinrich Gerlach, wrote, "We survived Hitler, only to die slowly under Stalin." But here's the real tragedy. Most of their families never even knew they were still alive. So, why don't we talk about these stories? Because history, especially war, is told by the victors. And POWs don't fit the heroic narrative. They weren't winners. They weren't martyrs. They were the forgotten. But they were also some of the bravest men in history who faced the unthinkable, and in some cases survived. If this moved you even a little, I want you to do 2 things. Subscribe for more untold stories, because we're just getting started, and drop a comment. Remember the forgotten, and tell us which of these stories you want to see as a full-length documentary or deep dive episode next. Let's honor them together.